Excuse me if you would please if I sound a little testy this morning, but we were all out of milk and I had to put V8 on my Fruit Loops again. Anyway, welcome to the Breakfast with Barry Lee podcast. Scooching over to the Brain Buster, 1 in 13 people say that they've either had a car accident or come close to a car accident because they were doing this. Doing what? Is it A, changing the radio station, B, sneezing, or C, reading a billboard? Your answer coming up in minutes. A look at the old podcast planner, nationaldaycalendar.com. Today is National Make Lunch Count Day. You know, the majority of U.S. workers suffer from FOLO, F-O-L-O. That's fear of lunching out. 73% of workers eat lunch at their desk at least twice a week. A third have lunch at their desk every day. They say leaving the office or your desk for 20 to 30 minutes invigorates your creative juices and increases productivity. Today is Thomas Jefferson Day. He was born April 13th, 1743. Of course, primary author of the Declaration of Independence. According to historical accounts, he was not much of an orator, but man, he was mighty with the pen. And his personal library, over 6,500 books. Not only a lawyer, but TJ was a scientist of paleontology and astronomy and a big weather enthusiast. He kept daily records. And Thomas Jefferson loved ice cream. As a matter of fact, came up with his own recipe. And today is National Scrabble Day, the game invented by Alfred Mosier Butts, an amateur artist and unemployed architect, and he developed the game right in the middle of the Depression. But he did not actually produce the game until 1948. The game is now sold in 121 countries, 29 different language versions, 150 million sets have been sold, and they figure there's a game in nearly 1/3 of all U.S. households. In 2004, Scrabble was inducted into the Toy Hall of Fame. When I think of Scrabble, I think of my mom, Moselle. She loved words, avid reader. She kept a log of every book she ever read. She was a lifelong student of history, art, ancient societies. Whenever there were exhibits in Washington, she wanted to go see them. But it was her love of words. She was great with word puzzles, crossword puzzles, but she loved her Scrabble game. In the 1950s, when we lived in Fairfax, her Scrabble buddy was the next-door neighbor, Ruth Higdon. I can see him sitting at the kitchen table now. And when we moved to Florida, she had Scrabble buddies. She taught us kids to play. And when grandchildren came along, she took great pride in teaching them the game. As a matter of fact, her original old Scrabble board that I still have has the date and the names of the grandchildren that played. In her senior years, her best Scrabble buddy was her niece, Iva Lee. More than a niece. Actually, they were best friends, too. They would get together every week to play Scrabble on a designated night. They would have their snacks and play game after game. With that being said, that sacred Scrabble night made a very difficult conversation much more manageable. My mom was probably about 83. She had been having some breathing problems and coughing. Her doctor took x-rays, and I got a phone call from the doctor saying that they had discovered a mass on her lungs, and it was cancer. She was already scheduled for a follow-up appointment to the x-ray, and he asked me, he says, "Do you want me to tell her?" And I said, "No, my sister and I will go over and we'll tell her prior to the appointment." Well, obviously, news like that just buckles your knees, and I called my sister, and we agreed that probably the best time to tell her would be when she was with her very best friend, her niece, Iva. Their Scrabble game was coming up in a couple of nights. I called Iva and I gave her the news, and I said, "I need you to keep this to yourself." But I said, "Do you mind if we interrupt your Scrabble game and let her know that she has cancer and how we're going to move forward from there?" And bless Iva's heart, she said, "Absolutely, I want to be there for my Moselle." So the night arrived. There's a million thoughts going through your mind about how you're going to break this news. And we walked in the middle of a Scrabble game, and oh, my mother was just so excited. "Wow, I got both of you here. You know, what's the special occasion?" And there was small talk and hugs, and all four of us are sitting around the table as they paused their Scrabble game. And so I looked at Mom and I said, "Mom," I said, "the x-rays have come back and the doctor says it's lung cancer." And there was a pause, and she looked at me and she says, "Well, that's why that cough won't go away." And I said, "Yeah." I said, "Now we're going to be going with you Thursday like we do with all of your doctor appointments, and we'll find out the plan of attack. We'll meet with the oncologist. I've made arrangements. I can stay here tonight if you want, but you're not going through this alone. We're going to fight through this together." And my sister Kay and I were saying, "Yeah, we're all in this together." And while I'm talking and trying to reassure her, I notice my mother is not making eye contact with me. Her eyes are on the Scrabble board. My mother, after receiving word that she had cancer, is eyeing her next move on the Scrabble board. It was then that I realized, you know what? We're going to be okay. When she passed at nearly 85 years of age, we displayed her Scrabble board with all those sacred names and dates on it at her funeral. We had the tiles spell out Moselle and Diva. And as a matter of fact, that board was brought out on Christmas Eve for a family game of Scrabble. Let's take a look at birthdays, celebrity birthdays. Al Green turned 76. Peter Davison, he played Tristan in the original All Creatures Great and Small. He turned 71. He was also Doctor Who for a while. Looking at our local celebrities, podcast faithful listener Fran Ring. Fran, bless your heart, happy birthday. Rob Yakel, Kayla Mills, Terry Sloan Carter, Donna Lee Williams. Donna, happy birthday. Patty Stinson, thanks for all you do for animals through Forever Home Rescue. Bless your heart. Ann Cunningham, Betty Mooney, and Loretta Jacobs. To each of you, happy birthday to you. On the Brainbuster, 1 in 13 people have either had a car accident or come close to it because they were doing this. Doing what? Is it A, changing the radio station, B, sneezing, or C, reading a billboard? The answer is B, sneezing. Love the time we have together here on the podcast. Let me know where you're listening from and when your birthday is. My email address right there on the website, breakfastwithbarrylee.com. And in closing this Wednesday podcast, let me just say I try to keep it pretty simple. Using big words makes my tongue sore. Blessings.